Hello everybody and welcome back to the stream. It's Wednesday and you know what that means. It's time for Jump Around, our weekly cardio class. Hey. Sorry, I am very low energy today. It has been a very difficult day mental health wise, and quite frankly I wasn't sure I was going to be able to teach today. So my apologies if I am low energy. As we start class, hopefully the power of exercise will help to build back up, because it does very frequently have that ability, which is one of the things that we love about exercise. That is a really excellent tool for caring for your mental health. It's not a magic bullet, so it doesn't always work, but when we can try to get out of our chairs and get on the mat and do something, even if it doesn't feel like we are able to push ourselves the way that we usually want to, even if all you're able to do is get on the mat and just desperately try to keep moving for the entire hour, that is still really awesome, and that's still really valuable. So we're going to test it out. It's going to be an object lesson today, I suppose. It's one of those very weird things where, as a streamer, I have to decide every time I get on camera what my level of vulnerability is going to be today. And we mask things because that's what we do. My ability to mask today is very, very low. So you're gonna get a little lower energy from me than you usually see. And that's okay. I think today, for me, I just need to focus on the bare minimum. And I'm always telling you that that's okay too. I'm always telling you that if you show up to class and, you're feeling exhausted, you're feeling run down, you've been having a really bad mental health day or week or month or year, and you're like, I don't even know if I can make it through class, focus on the bare minimum. And that's okay. If that's your goal for class, that's okay. If your only focus is starting on time, stopping on time, and doing the exercise correctly, that's okay. And if you only get 2 out of 3 of those components, that's also okay, because it's important for us to have goals and to have metrics that we try and focus in on. That's really valuable, and it helps to inspire us, and it helps us to, figure out what the things are that are important to us and to work towards them. But they shouldn't be cages, right? So, if you are setting hyper-specific metrics for yourself for success, and you are considering yourself to have failed if you do not meet 100% of those metrics, well, man, that's rough. That is so rough. That is so hard, and it is not acknowledging the incredible work that you have put in and the incredible progress that you have made towards what you are working towards. And nobody knows that feeling and that mental tendency more than, former gifted and talented kids who were, hyper anxious and hyper high performing in secondary school. Nobody knows that feeling better than those folks. And it can be really hard to remind yourself, even as we get older, even as we move out of high school and out of college and out into the real world. It can be really hard to remind ourselves of that. And, I talk about it a lot, and I try to remind you as much as possible. And today I really need to remind myself. And, I want you always to understand that I'm not great at taking my own advice. I work on it, and I'm better at it now, in my late 30s than I was in my late 20s or my late teens, but it's a process. And sometimes we really do have to just ratchet back our success criteria for a given day or hour or moment and go, all right, well, my success criteria today is turning on the stream. My success criteria today is sitting in front of all of you and being like, yeah, it's been a really shitty day, and I'm not doing particularly well, and I'm going to do my very, very best to give you a good class. And whether or not my own workout goes to plan, I'm going to do my very, very best to keep myself going through class. And, it's one of those things where it's very tempting to just cancel, and to say, it's a hard day. I'm just not going to turn on the stream because there's a very performative aspect of streaming that is understandably difficult when you're having a bad mental health day. And I thought about it. There are a couple of reasons that I didn't decide to do that today. One, of course, being that last week we didn't get to do jump around either because of my really freaking stupid hot sauce incident. And I didn't feel comfortable canceling 2 weeks in a row. So really I can just blame myself for my own stupidity last week. But also, while it's better to be like, hey, I'm gonna cancel bad mental health day, than to just push through a stream and pretend that nothing is wrong, I think it's also really important to normalize not being at the top of your game all the time, even when you're working. And this is a job for me, essentially. This is one of my jobs anyway, and it's important to normalize that we're not always going to be at 100%. We're not. And the more that we can do to be open about that and to then support each other through those times, so it's not just all of us alone in our houses, just trying not to drown by ourselves. It's important to normalize not being okay and feeling all right expressing that, So that's what I'm trying to do today, my friends. I don't know what it's going to look like. This is going to be a weird class for all of us, but we're gonna push through. Today we are officially focusing in on the bare minimum. Okay, that is our success criteria. All right, so I want you to just focus on starting on time, stopping on time, doing the exercise correctly. Okay, you can have stretch goals if you want to, but today's class is, let's just get on the mat and go through class and pat ourselves on the back at the end of that. All right? All right, my loves. So, hey, stretching is a good goal. We'll do some stretching. We'll do some stretching at the end. Thank you for coming with me on this. I know this is a little weird. I know that I am not my usual higher energy self, or at least my usual higher energy stream self. And I appreciate your coming with me on this journey anyway, and hanging out, working out, and just all helping to carry each other through, and take care of each other. So, all right, let's do our pre-class checklist, because it's cardio day, my friends, so I don't have any major advisories. You know the drill. Lots of jumping up and down, lots of sweating. So, first part of our checklist, make sure you have your water in whatever vessel you are using. I've got my trusty mason jar. The ice dispenser on my fridge is clogged in some manner, which is insanely frustrating, and means that I have to like open the door and like reach in and get ice that way, because like it's just not coming out of the dispenser. So curses, but at least I can still get ice. So you've got your water, you've got your comfy clothes on, whatever that means to you. You've got your mat or mat-sized space on the floor. And if you use a fitness wearable, let's turn those on now to high intensity interval training. If you don't use a fitness wearable, or you don't feel like using it today, that's totally fine. You know, it is a tool like any other tool. If it is not a valuable tool or a helpful tool, put it down, throw it away. You know, many people can find them really inspirational, and other people can find them more anxiety inducing. I've turned all of the notifications off of mine, you know, because it used to send me little messages like, oh, you know, we noticed that your exercise ring is usually further along by this time in the day than it is. What's up with that? And that was supremely unhelpful for me. You know, somehow the guilt trip from my freaking watch was truly not helpful. So never be afraid. Again, we modify to support ourselves and to support our bodies and our minds. Or if it's simply not something that we can do, then we do something else. So never worry if you don't have a fitness wearable. They are not required. They're useful for some, not useful for others. If you are one of the latter, that's fine. I'm glad you know that, so that you don't have to spend lots of money on expensive wearables. All right, let's start with our warm-up, my friends. My God, class started and I got like 20 texts. Okay, so we're gonna start with our warm-up, which is the same warm-up across all the classes, which can be extremely helpful if you're having a rough day, because for the first 16 minutes of class, you do not need to worry about doing something new, about messing up or missing what the next exercise is, because if you've been taking my class for a while, you know what the next exercise is. So let's start on our mats, on our backs, 1 foot crossed over the opposite knee, and as soon as that horn goes off, we will begin with hip rocks and bridges. All right, so again, and I talk about this most days that we're doing the warm-up, but we really want to focus in on slowly ramping up over the course of the warm-up. So we are not coming in to the warm-up and immediately going, all right, cool, I need to be at 100%. Even if this wasn't bare minimum day here on Blanche Case Fitness, I would still remind you of this. So make sure that you are starting to activate your different muscle groups. So in this particular exercise, in order to rock the hips up into the air, I'm actually contracting my abdominals to pull the hips up, and that's sort of our first opportunity to really get our abs into the picture, and to also get a nice little object lesson about how they assist and drive movement, okay? I talk a lot about how awesome they are as a stabilizing muscle group, and that is absolutely true, but they are also incredibly powerful for movement generation. And so we're getting that initial view of that right here, right now. So, you know, I push my foot off the floor to sort of kickstart the motion, but it's really my core engaging and contracting that actually pulls the hips off the floor. If all I'm doing is pushing, then there's only so much I can do. I sort of get to like here and I'm like, all right, well, can't really go any farther. So try to pull your hips up. We're not going for, you know, maximum hip, but try and pull them up a little bit more by engaging the core. All right. Now let's do some Jane Fonda. She was all over my Twitter feed the other day. Man, I think she won a Golden Globe or something. I don't know. I realized the other day that I've never watched the Golden Globes, and I stand by that decision because they really seem to be just so married to their secrecy and their total lack of diversity. And it's mind-blowingly frustrating, you know, to have an organization like that, an awards organization like that, to be like, oh yes, of course diversity is important, but you know, our bylaws move very slowly. And it's like, are you shitting me? You're going to use corporate bureaucracy that you created as the reason why you can't move more quickly on diversifying your voting panels? Like, it's insane. And again, that honestly, that ties very nicely into like traps of our own making, you know? Like, what bullshit that someone is literally using like bylaws as the excuse why they can't move more quickly on diversifying their voting membership. Yeah, it's wild to me. So I feel perfectly fine with not counting the Golden Globes among my awards show viewings. Honestly, at this point, I have stopped watching most awards shows. I will occasionally watch the Oscars if somebody is having like an Oscar viewing party. But I do not generally I am surprised by it every year. In ignorance, I await my own surprise of, oh, look at that, suddenly it's the Oscars. And God, the same thing with the Tony Awards. I used to follow the Tonys more religiously because theater, obviously, but as I've gotten older and as my my attitudes about theater and about the relevance and importance of Broadway versus all of the incredible work being done at regional and community theaters around the country for less than no recognition. I have been far less interested in watching, you know, an awards ceremony that caters to such a hyper-specific part of the industry and really ignores the rest of the country. Like, how ridiculous is it to have an awards ceremony that only looks at theater in a single city in the entirety of the United States, and not even all of the theater in that city, but only focuses on theaters that are in this very exclusive club, you know? And it's mind-blowing. And it fails every other part of the theater industry. So I've really, I felt more and more frustrated with that as I've gotten older, and I really, gosh, I watched a very small portion of the Tonys a couple of years ago because a very dear friend who was a Broadway actor died, and I wanted to see her segment in the In Memoriam. And so I watched a little bit of the Tony Awards, and it was just like, this speaks to none of the interesting and original and groundbreaking and earth-shattering and diverse work that's actually being done around the country. It is so irrelevant and so ignorant of its own irrelevance. And I literally just turned it off as soon as I had seen what I was looking to see. And yeah, it is just, you know, we create these structures and then we turn them into prisons, and we turn them into justifications for continuing structures of oppression. You know, it's like, it's not that I believe in this misogynist or white supremacist or homophobic or transphobic policy. No, but you know, we have to do things properly and by the book. So you just have to be patient a little longer. You just have to file all of the applications correctly, and make sure you use the right terminology and don't raise your voice, and you'll be totally fine, I'm sure. And if you aren't, if this thing still persists, well, then obviously there was an issue with how you navigated this complex and labyrinth cage of our own making. You know, it is really unacceptable. And boy howdy, is it everywhere. It is fascinating. It is fascinating and infuriating at the same time. I will tell you what. Oh man, all right. Moving into opening up our backs and our hips, and I am definitely feeling some stiffness in my spine right now, so I'd say I've been sitting a little too much today, which is not surprising. And if you're feeling the same, well then, this is why we do this section of the warm-up. Remember to keep your elbows planted on the ground. This may mean that you're not able to twist as far as you want to, and that's totally fine. All right? Another way for us to listen to our bodies and pay attention to where they are in this moment. All righty? Coming up here and beginning our big torso rotations. Oh, I don't even remember how I got talking about theater in that moment. Oh man. Yeah, big torso rotations. Remember, we're generating a movement from the hips, okay? So I'm not like moving my arms and then trying to follow after them. My arms are staying in the same position relative to my head the whole time. So I'm just allowing myself to bend over at the hips, keeping my torso relatively straight. There's a little bit of letting the back bend over as I come through the bottom of this circle, but then straightening it up again as I come up, and all of that motion is generating from the hips first, okay? And now our first opportunity to do some squats. So let's check in on our knees, because this is our first chance to do so. Squats, a huge component of so many exercises. And we want to make sure that our knees are going straight over our feet the whole time. So we don't want them caving in towards each other at any point during this process. So you may be able to get all the way down here to the bottom point of the exercise, but if you're trying to stand up and the knees are going, then narrow your stance and practice here and go, okay, cool. I can maintain this here, so I'm going to keep practicing here until I feel like I am strong enough that I can go back to the wider position. And that doesn't have to happen today. That can be a process of several classes, okay? So keep that in mind. I'm talking over weeks, not over minutes. All right, and now we're doing our Sampson stretches. Remember, we're not actively trying to reach behind ourselves, so there's going to be some natural arching in my back just because of this position, and especially raising the arms straight up, but I'm not trying to make it more pronounced by reaching behind myself, all right? It's just a natural consequence of this particular position. Also remembering that our hips are pointing forward no matter where we are in this exercise, okay? So it can be tempting as we bring the leg behind us for our hip to go, I want to pull out. That is not the exercise we're doing. All right. And now coming down into our nice wide squat, and we're twisting one shoulder in towards the midline at a time. Everything else is remaining nice and stable. We have the opportunity to assist our knees in staying in that safe position over our feet because we have our hands on our knees. And this is one of the only times that we get to take advantage of that. So definitely appreciate that, all right? But we're not moving up and down out of the squat. We're not letting our knees cave towards the center as we twist a shoulder in. Only things moving are our shoulders, all righty? There we go. And now we've reached cardio, which is appropriate considering the class. So starting right here with our jumping jacks and just going, all right, let's just start getting that cardiovascular system online. So heart rate starts to increase a little bit. Your breath starts coming a little bit faster so we can get oxygen into our bodies more efficiently and then moving more efficiently through our bloodstream and to all of the muscles that we are using. And they're in turn using that oxygen to power our fuel systems and to help break down energy stores into usable fuel for our muscles while we do this class. So this is the last step in the warm-up process. Now, kick-throughs. Again, if you're still moving slowly on kick-throughs, totally fine. Remember, we want to really focus on getting all of the pieces together correctly rather than trying to speed up and then doing what I just did and falling over, all right? So you want to make sure that that standing leg is still at 90-degree angle, knee pointing up towards the ceiling. Don't let the butt dip down towards the floor. Don't let the knee push forward like this. Again, particularly with this exercise, then when we try to push to the other side, we put some really nasty pressures on our knee. All right, last but not least, here we are at our burpees. So we do a wave push-up for burpees, okay? I know that sometimes you come into this and you're like, man, I really want to do a plank push-up for these burpees. And I hear you, but also that is not the exercise that we're doing. So make sure it's always a wave push-up and that you're then doing that nice victory clap up at the top of the exercise, all right? And even with this, we are not at 100% energy. This is the most energy. But now We are done with the warm-up and we are ready to move through class. Okay, let's grab some water, friends. Do. All right, so I think we're going to alternate today between classic Tabata, so 20 seconds of work, 10 seconds of rest, and the extended Tabata, which is 45 seconds of work, 15 seconds of rest. So we're gonna go back and forth. And so the 20-second ones are gonna be very focused. We have the opportunity to sort of sprint, for lack of a better term, and to really push for some additional energy and power. For the longer Tabatas, we can still do that, but 45 seconds is, I don't know if you know this, but 45 seconds is longer than 20 seconds. So there also then becomes an element of energy management in making sure that I can get through the 45 seconds and then recover enough energy in the 15 seconds that I can then do the next thing, okay? So we're gonna start with a 20-second, 20-10 Tabata, and it is going to be burpees. We just did burpees. Love it. You know what it's about? I know what it's about. So that's going to be our first Tabata. Remember, first sound does not mean go. So that's our stop sound, relax. And then we hear the knocking, which tells us to get into position. We got to get ready, get set. And we go as soon as we hear that fanfare go, because 20 seconds is not a ton of time, and we want to make sure that we are using as much of it as possible to do the exercise. All right? Woo! Okay, round 2. So it's interesting when we do single exercise Tabatas. It is a much more focused experience. We don't have the variety to hook our brains back in, so we have to be able to do that, and we have to make sure that we are paying attention to our form just as deliberately as we would if we were switching exercises up more frequently. All right? So, yes, you're doing the same exercise over and over again, but that doesn't mean that you don't want to check in and make sure that you are paying attention to your form. So for burpees, we pay attention to jumping our feet back into that nice plank position before we do our wave push-up. In the push-up, keeping our elbows right by our sides so that we focus the movement on our triceps. Getting that nice jump at the top with that victory clap. All right, so these are all the things that we want to focus in on, and we don't have anything to distract us from them except for the sound of my voice. But the good news is you're halfway through. All right, so counting this set that you're on, you've got 4 more intervals before we have our next rest. And rest times are good times. That's when we get our water out. That's when we work on bringing our breath down a little bit, getting our heart rate down a little bit, and just seeing how quickly we can recover from the exercise and from the intensity of the sprint. Okay? because that's the reason that we do Tabata sets, is training ourselves to be able to recenter more quickly and to bring our systems back to baseline from that heightened level of exertion more quickly, okay? So pay attention to that while you're doing this last set, okay? So we're gonna get through this final sprint, and then when we head into the rest, I want you to see how quickly you can lower your heart rate and lower your breathing rate. So deeper, more deliberate breaths. Woo! All right. There we go. There we go. Let's grab some water. All right. So one of the consequences of my own brain state today, coming into class, is that I don't have a lot of energy for a lot of variation between exercises. So today we're really going to be focusing on single exercises each time, all right? Even when we're doing the 45-second intervals. So just keep that in mind. Today is going to be very singularly focused. And so you can look at each exercise and really dig into how's my performance, what are the things that I feel like I'm struggling with, and what are the areas that I can maybe take a closer look at to help feel more confident in the exercise, all right? Okay, so we're gonna now do 45 seconds of work, 15 seconds of rest, all right? So we get extra rest, which is nice, but we have a lot of extra work. So we just need to keep that in mind, okay? And I think, honestly, right now, we're gonna do some flying chickens, because they're a nice exercise to do for an entire 45 seconds, all right? So feet together, they jump out in the air and then land right back where they started. Thumbs at chest height. If you wear a bra, you can hook your thumbs behind your bra straps, and you're just flapping your elbows. So out in, out in, out in, out in, like that, all right? So that's our exercise for this next set. So remember, yes, it's cardio day, but also this is a 45-second set. So make sure that you are paying attention to your energy management here, all right? This is a little less of a sprint than the 20-second sets are. So let's start out strong, check in on your form. So again, if this is a day where you're really focusing on starting on time, stopping on time, and doing the exercise correctly, then let's focus in on form first. So for this one, we don't talk about form a lot because it's honestly pretty easy. But one thing you can do to help is to make sure that you're engaging your core, all right? Because you're moving a lot of your limbs around and then trying to snap them back to the center position, and having your core engaged will help to pull all of that back together more efficiently, okay? So, all right, set two. As you go into set two, just start to think about that. The rest of it, you know, the fundamentals of the exercise are pretty easy to grasp, but that little extra piece of checking in on your core and making sure it's engaged will definitely help you to feel a little more sturdy as you snap everything back to that starting position, okay? Oh, all right, my friends. There we go. Doing good on your second set. 2 out of 8. All right. 15 seconds always is a little disconcerting to me because this is the only timer that we have with such a long rest period. So I always have that moment of, wait, did I miss an audio cue somewhere? No, I don't think I did. And usually, yeah, it's just that the rest timer is so much longer than I'm used to. So if you have that moment too, don't worry, totally normal, and absolutely something that I'm doing as well. And that's the thing, right? Just because we have more experience and have been doing something for a while does not make us immune to messing things up, to having weird little brain fart moments where we go, wait, what am I doing? What was I doing 2 seconds ago? I don't even know. So, you know, we get harder on ourselves for those moments as we get more experienced because we feel like we are supposed to be able to avoid them. And you know what? Again, perfect is the enemy of good, and perfect is a completely unattainable standard that too many of us throw ourselves against in a desperate attempt to achieve something that is not achievable and should never have been our goal in the first place. You know, we're not trying to be perfect here at Blanche Fitness. We are trying to take care of ourselves, okay? That doesn't require perfection. That just requires showing up and doing the work. And if you're willing to do that, then you're starting from a really good place. And you should be proud of yourself, you know? Because that's where we're focusing. That's what we're on right now. Just showing up and doing the work. And some days we're going to be better at it than others. And, you know, some days we are actively going to mess it up, and that's going to feel really hard. But as long as we keep showing up, you know, that's all we need to really focus on. Okay, friends, you have 3 more sets, including this one. I can count, I promise. I'm gonna grab a little water really quickly. 2021. Celebrate the bare minimum. You know what? I think that's fine. I think that's a good mantra. And you know, there's a lot of stuff that we're going to be relearning in 2021. So let's give ourselves that grace, my friends. Yeah, it's a good starting place. Look, it's only March. There is plenty more 2021 to be had. And, you know, take that however you need to today, but keep in mind that just like when we start this class, we don't start firing on all cylinders.
we start with the bare minimum and ramp up. Just like that, we can do the same with this year or any, meaningful span of time that we are working with, okay? So don't feel like you should already be at 100%. It's only March, and it's gonna be a weird March and a hard one. So yeah, imagine that you are still doing the warm-up, okay? You're still doing the warm-up, and so you're figuring out how to engage all of the systems that you need to use, and you're sending those initial signals to be like, hey, there's stuff we want to do, and other than that, you are not trying to do the most incredible work you've ever done. You're not trying to be pushing for maximum velocity. You're just trying to get started. All right. Whew. I'll tell you, I am noticing that I am a little dehydrated, and I can tell because I'm starting to get little crampy points. So I'm going to make sure that I'm keeping an eye on that. And if you are having a similar experience, then make sure you are keeping an eye on that. All right. Okay, so we are going to go back to our 20 seconds of work, 10 seconds of rest. And the exercise for this one is going to be bicycles, all right? So we're still going for speed and intensity, even though we're lying on the ground. So on your back, engage the core so that it pulls your chest and shoulders off the floor. One knee in towards the chest, the other leg extended but off the ground. Opposite elbow to knee, and then switch, and just go back and forth, okay? Yeah. And it's nice because you can just sort of chill on the floor, which is always enjoyable. Alrighty. Remember, first sound does not mean go. First sound is our stop sound. So we rest, we relax, then we hear that knocking, we get in position. So as soon as the horn goes, we are going. And again, 20-second intervals means that we can push for a little extra speed if we want to do that. Think of this as a sprint, and you can use that to inspire whatever intensity you want to try to hit in this moment. Make sure that you're using your core, your abdominals. At this point in my class's history, given how much I love core exercises and given how much I talk about this while we do them, you are hopefully aware of how easy it can be to compensate for weak abdominals by using totally different muscle groups to try and muscle yourself through an exercise. But it doesn't hurt to remind ourselves, and if you're going through these exercises and getting to the end and being like, man, I'm really not feeling that in my core, then the next time you do them, I want you to really pay attention to what muscle group you're using. Because let me tell you, I've got an incredibly strong core, and I feel these exercises, okay? I feel that engagement, I feel that intensity, and that's how I know that I'm working the right muscle group. So just keep in mind that, you know, if you've been doing these exercises and you're like, oh, I'm not really feeling it, you know, that must mean that I just have a really strong core. Maybe, but what is more likely is that you are using a different area to try and generate the movement. So again, we're focusing on form today. So really touch base and be like, okay, how is my core doing? Do I feel that engagement? Do I feel that muscle contraction? And is that contraction what is keeping my chest and shoulders off the ground? One of the reasons why I don't have you put your hands behind your head when you do this is that that is a very fast trip to, oh man, my neck is really sore after I do ab exercises. And it's because you got your hands back here, you're white knuckling, and you're trying to pull yourself forward using your arms and using your neck rather than using your abdominals, okay? So I keep my hands basically right in front of my face. I don't even have them on the sides of my head, and that helps me to really focus in and be like, okay, the muscles that are keeping me in this position and allowing me to do this exercise are definitely my abdominals. I don't even have to question whether I'm pulling myself forward using my hands or my neck. Okay? Woo! All right. There we go. Let's take a rest. Let's grab some water. Okay. Drinking lots of water, right? Every time we have a rest, I want you with your water bottle in hand, okay? Especially on a cardio day. We're working really hard. We need to replenish those fluids because as we sweat, that's our body's cooling system. And awesome, it's working correctly. That's what we want. But suddenly, your body doesn't have as much water in it as it needs. So make sure that you are hydrating before, during, and after class, okay? Just all the time. Make sure you're always hydrating, but particularly in class when we're like, okay, this is the most fluid loss that I'm going to experience in my day is doing this class. I need to make sure that I'm starting the replenishing process right now, okay? All right, here we go. Next 45-second Tabata. What are we gonna do? I think that for this one, we are gonna do jump rope. So if you don't know a jump rope, that's fine. Neither do I. We're gonna pretend. So holding our hands out to the sides as if we are holding the handles of a jump rope, elbows in, and we're gonna go for speed. The nice thing about the invisible jump rope is that you don't have to worry about hitting yourself in the foot with it. So that's our exercise. And that's a nice one because it's cardio, absolutely, but it's one that I feel like lends itself to the longer timer, okay? So we can really push ourselves for a little more speed than we might be able to with some of these other exercises, alrighty? So here we go, and yes, I am circling the arms, so I really am jump roping without a jump rope, okay? I'm not just holding my arms here and hopping up and down. I am getting those arm circles in and keeping those elbows pinned towards my sides. Again, as with the flying chickens, I've got my core engaged so that I'm helping to improve my ability to snap back to that starting position. But, you know, this is another one where it's not super intensive on the form. There aren't a ton of components that we need to keep track of, which is nice. Because again, it allows us to really focus our energy and our efforts on what's this exercise I'm doing? What level of challenge rating do I want to apply to it today? You know, maybe I am still focused on bare minimum, and I'm like, you know what? I'll just be happy if I'm still moving by the end of the 45 seconds. Cool, that's fine. Or maybe as class has gone along, you have started to feel a little bit more available energy, and you're like, okay, maybe I want to focus on ramping up my my cadence, my rhythm for these jump ropes. Almost said jumping jacks. That's not what we're doing. FYI, we are truly simulating a jump rope experience, all right? So keep that in mind. Okay, going along. And this is a nice one because we can ramp up the speed a fair way before the heart rate increases and the increased load on our cardiovascular system start to go, you know? So there's really an opportunity to push for a lot of additional power and speed in this exercise. It's a very contained one, you know? We're not, like the burpees, we are moving through multiple planes, and we're, you know, it's basically like 2 or 3 exercises smushed together, right? This is very contained. It's very focused. Literally, I'm jumping up and down using the power of my feet to propel the jump, and I am rotating my arms to rotate the invisible jump rope, and that's it. And those are, you know, there's isolation involved, but it's not complex isolation. We're not moving multiple parts of the body in ways that don't necessarily seem to initially intersect with one another in the manner of something like shrimps or kick-throughs or things like that, right? All right, you are over halfway through, my friends. So we've got, including this set, 4 more intervals before we have our next water break. So make sure you are truly taking advantage of those 15 seconds of rest, all right? We love our rest periods, and we want to use them to the best of our ability. Again, trying to get our heart rate down, trying to get our breathing down. One of the ways that we can bring our heart rate down is by deepening our breath, okay? So when we're really in the thick of a cardio exercise, our breath's coming very fast because, again, we're trying to get a lot of oxygen into the body, and we're trying to get a lot of toxin out of the body. So we're trying to speed up that process in general. And then our heart speeds up to match it because, you know, now there's suddenly a lot more oxygen that needs to be moved more quickly through the body, and a lot more waste products that need to be expelled more quickly. So one of the signals to our heart that it can start to calm down is slowing our breath, deepening that breath, and that will let our hearts go, oh, okay, I am no longer needed to really do this intense work here. So something for you to practice when we have those rests, particularly our 15-second rests. Really dig in and go, okay, how quickly can I get my heart rate down? How easily can I start to deepen my breath after I finish one of these sets? And believe me, that's a hard skill to build up. It is not as simple as it sounds. I can be over here going, yeah, all you have to do is just slow down your breath. Nothing to it. But let me tell you, when your heart's racing and you've just finished this really intensive workout interval, the last thing your body thinks makes sense is suddenly stopping and slowing all that down. So if you are struggling with that, don't worry. It takes a while to build up, okay? And quite honestly, if you're not teaching and taking class and talking the whole time, then there are levels to which I have wildly ramped up my cardiovascular system strength and my ability to bring my breathing down and my heart rate down that I didn't even know I had that much more opportunity for improvement until I started doing these classes and was like, oh, wow, I still had more to learn. I still had more to build, and I didn't even realize it. All right. Okay. So, getting that water. Man, it's been such a focused class that I feel like it's gone by in just like a snap. Holy crow. So we are gonna do another 20-10 Tabata, and for this one we are gonna do turtle burpees. Okay, so we did our regular burpees and they felt lovely. We know them very well. Sorry, I have an alarm going off. And I don't have time to do that in this moment. Now, what we're going to do is turtle burpees. So, you've taken class with me. You know that a turtle exercise starts with rocking up on the shoulders, then up on the feet. Then we're going to plant our hands on the floor, jump back to that plank. Do our wave push-up, jump the feet forward. Just do a jump up in the air. We don't need that victory clap. And then repeat. So up, forward, push up, jump, and repeat, okay? And that is what we're gonna do. And what we're gonna end on, basically. And then we're gonna do some stretching, which is gonna feel wonderful. So, everybody, back to your mats, getting ready. Remember, that sound did not mean go, but that sound means get ready to go. And this is our last interval for class. So it gives us an opportunity to dig in see what energy we have left and how we want to finish out our class. And maybe where we are right now is okay. I feel like I have these pockets of energy I have not tapped yet, and I'm ready to tap them. I'm ready to use the rest of that energy and leave it all on the mat. Awesome. Or maybe you've made it here and you're like, okay, this is the last work interval. All I need to do is keep moving and I will be able to meet my goal of the bare minimum. And wherever you are on that spectrum is totally awesome, okay? So we are not over here trying to force ourselves into super intensity. Woo. If that is not where you feel like you are. Keep in mind too, there are a lot of components to the turtle burpee. So the number of reps that you are going to be able to do in 20 seconds is going to have a very rapid cap because, you know, you're doing a lot of different movements. I'm going at a pretty good clip and I can only get 3 in there right now. So if you're like, well, I feel like I'm rushing as much as I can and I still am only getting 2 or 3 of them in, that is totally fine. Because, you know, it's a burpee with an extra step of that rock back onto our shoulders. So, don't worry about it, basically. All right, we are on the home stretch. Counting this one, we've got 3 more intervals to get through. All right, so in the race metaphor for class, we are on the home stretch, that last 0.1 mile. We can see the finish line. Our friends and family are lined up along the sides. They are cheering us on. Let's get our own personal cheerleaders out, set them on the floor, next to your mat, next to your computer, your TV, whatever you're using to stream class. They are doing their best floor routines. They're throwing pom-poms in the air. They're throwing each other in the air. And they are so proud of you as you head into this last interval. Because you know what? Sometimes it is hard to even get out of bed and onto the mat. And if you were having a hard day and you still managed to be here to get through class, you are a rock star, and I want you to be as proud of yourself as I am. Because I am very proud of you. And you know, in this moment I'm very proud of myself too. And that feels really good. So let's all pat ourselves in the back. Okay. Yeah, we're gonna do some stretching, my friends. We're already on the floor, so we're gonna start down here. And actually, we're gonna really work some stretching for our hamstrings. So I want you to take this wide position with your legs. Your knees should still be pointing up towards the ceiling, okay? So not caving forward, no matter where we are. So keep that in mind. And what we're gonna do is we are gonna start by turning our entire torso towards one leg. So generating that rotation with the obliques. And I want to square my shoulders to that leg as best as I can. I've got to take my glasses off. And then I'm going to walk my hands down and just fold over this leg. Keeping my shoulders square, checking on that other leg, making sure the knee is still pointing straight up towards the ceiling. So the gravity and the pressure from my torso is going to help lengthen this leg and intensify the stretch in the hamstrings, okay? So I want you to take 4 deep breaths here, and each time you exhale, I want you to see if you can sink a little more deeply into the stretch. And each time you inhale, I want you to visualize all that oxygen going to where you are feeling the most intensity of sensation, okay? So 4 deep breaths, here we go. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. And 4. And then we're going to take the same arm as leg. We're going to move that arm to the inside. Open the opposite shoulder. So now my chest is facing forward. I'm going to take this arm up and over, reaching it towards the toes. If you can get down this far into the stretch, you can grab your feet. Otherwise, just letting the arm come over. You're going to feel this nice stretch along your lats. We're going to take 3 deep breaths here, okay? Here we go. That's 1. That's 2. And 3. And then take that arm back up. Bring the torso up with it. And now, other side. So again, square those shoulders towards the leg. Bring yourself down until you are folded over that leg. Check on the opposite one. Make sure the knee's still pointing up towards the ceiling. And you're probably feeling some intensity of sensation in your hamstrings. So just really make sure that you are breathing in and visualizing the oxygen going to wherever you're feeling the most sensation, okay? 4 deep breaths, here we go. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. And 4. Take that same arm as leg into the inside. Open your shoulder out. Bring the other arm up and over. Nice lat stretch. And we're going to take those 3 deep breaths. Here we go. That's 1. That's 2. And 3. Arm up, brings the torso with it. Just sort of shake your knees out a little bit. And then let's bring the soles of our feet together. And we are going to fold over our feet. So we're looking for a nice intense stretch in our hips. So one of the things, I've described this before, but we don't just want to hunch over the legs. We want the lower back to get as close to the thighs as possible. So try and start from a flat back position and walk your hands one by one forward until you don't think you can maintain it anymore. And then you can let your upper back curve over. And that helps to bring your lower back much closer to the thighs and just intensifies that stretch a little bit. All right, we are going to take those 4 deep breaths. Here we go. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. And 4. All right, walk back up. And we're not going to move super far from this position. So I want you to take one of the feet. So if my knees were sort of opened up like this, I'm gonna move one foot out of the way. I'm gonna leave the other leg where it was, and then just bring that heel to the outside of the opposite hip. And then I'm going to take this other leg and I'm going to flex the foot and put the ankle on top of my knee. Flexing the foot helps me to protect this knee right here, because what we're then going to do is we're going to fold over. And again, now we're getting a really nice focused stretch in that hip, all right? So let's take 3 deep breaths for this one. Here we go. That's 1. That's 2. And 3. Roll up. Let that foot come off of the knee. Again, shake those knees out in front of you, and then other side, okay? Remember, flex this foot to help protect your knee here. As we fold over, this may be more or less intense on the other side, depending on where your hip flexibility is. Don't forget, as you're breathing in, to visualize the oxygen going right to where you're feeling the most intensity of sensation. 3 deep breaths, here we go. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. All right, there we go. Unfold. And we're just sitting here. Let's just do a nice little neck stretch. We don't actually have to be standing for this, although I usually do it from a standing position. So let's just let your ear drop to one side, coming towards the shoulder. I want you to take that same arm up to the side of your head. I'm not pulling down on the neck. I'm just resting my arm on the side of the head and letting that additional weight intensify the stretch along the scalenes, okay? So let's just, we're not going to do the big focused breathing breaths. We're just going to hold here for a sec. Make sure you are breathing. All right, we're not trying to hold our breaths through these static stretches. All right, and then release the hand to allow the neck to come back up to neutral. And other side. All right. Again, I'm not yanking down on my head. I am just letting the additional weight of my arm intensify the stretch. Okay? So we don't need to be yanking down. That is not particularly good for our necks, I would say. All right, my friends, release. Bring that head back up to standing. Standing. Neutral. Let's just take a couple of deep breaths right here. Just 2, okay? All right. Oh, well, there we go. I think we got some good stretching in at the end of class. All right. Grab your water. Grab your water. Make sure you are still rehydrating. My friends, thanks for coming with me on that journey. That was a hard one for me, but it was a good class. And you know, exercise didn't magically make me feel 100% better, because exercise is not a magic bullet, but it did remind me of my strength and power. And that was a reminder that I very much needed today. So, you know, if we go into exercise assuming that it is going to be the automatic cure for everything that ails us, we're going to be disappointed because it's not a magic bullet. It's as close to a magic bullet as we have, but it's still not automatically going to make all of your troubles go away and all of your physical and mental ailments go away and suddenly everything is perfect and you're skipping through a meadow singing The Sound of Music. That's not what it that's not what it promises. But it helps. It helps a lot. It can help to ground us. It can help to remind us of our strength and our power in those moments when we feel really weak and powerless. And it can remind us of how impressive it is that we can do so many things with our bodies. It's truly remarkable, considering all of the things that go into just like telling myself to lift a finger. It's remarkable that we can do so much, that we can do a class like that for an hour and come out the other side and go, holy crap, we did that for an hour, and that was a lot. That was amazing, and you got through it like champions. And no matter what your success criteria was today, you did a great job and you achieved it. All right, even if you didn't hit 100% of the metrics, you still did a great job and you still succeeded. Okay, so be proud of yourselves and thank you for helping me today. We've got 2 more classes this week. So Friday at 6 p.m. Mountain Time is Functional Home Fitness, where we do weight training using objects you can find around the house. It's a wonderful capper to the 9 to 5 work week. So definitely come and hang out with us for that. And then Saturday morning at 9 a.m. is the weekend kickoff, which is our awesome strength and stamina focused bodyweight class. So definitely join me for either or both of those classes. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. All of those handles will be my end cards, but they are all variations on Blanche Case Fitness. My YouTube channel is where I upload all the VODs from these streams, so you never have to miss a class, even if you can't make the live cast. So definitely head over there and subscribe. If you want to help support me financially making these streams, I do have a coffee account at Blanche Case Fitness. Your donations are always very much appreciated.
And if you want to help keep growing this channel, this wonderful, weird little fitness community corner of the internet, then please do follow the channel, tell your friends, loved ones, coworkers, anyone looking for an awesome class. I stream 4 days a week. We talk about a lot of stuff, you know, from pop culture to mental health to dismantling white supremacy, to the evils of late stage capitalism, and we get a good workout while we do it. So I hope that you come back. I hope that you keep being a part of this community. And as always, thank you so much for helping to ground me and helping to remind me that I am awesome, so that I, in turn, can remind you that you are awesome. So finish those water bottles, have a good shower, have an awesome dinner, start replenishing those glycogen stores, and I will see you back here on Friday. Mwah. Have a great night.